Hey there, YouTube. Just want to talk to you guys today a little bit about college football. A lot of you know that right now I'm here in Eugene, Oregon, and Eugene, Oregon is the home of the Fighting Ducks of the University of Oregon. The Fighting Ducks, we're supported by Nike. So, if you come to Eugene, Oregon, you'll see a lot of people like this. I bought my Nikes at the thrift store secondhand in Washington, D.C. But, people in the city of Eugene are going to be decked out in Nike clothes. They're going to be wearing Nike shoes. They're going to be wearing yellow and green, color of the Oregon Ducks. And, you'll see people with like O's on their cars, and you even see people wearing like O earrings, and they're selling like Oregon Duck koozies and coolers and Oregon Duck hats and t-shirts and Oregon Duck season tickets, and there's like a million different products you can buy to show that you support the Oregon Ducks, and people do. In Eugene, Oregon, people support the Oregon Ducks. I would say it's our number one thing that we do in Eugene is that we're Duck fans. So today there's a game, and it's football. It's college football. There's a lot of college football fans in this country. College football is really important to a lot of people, and so today the University of Nebraska Cornhuskers have come here to Oregon to play against the Oregon Ducks. And so there's a lot of people wearing Cornhusker colors. They're wearing maroon, and they're really proud of where they're from. They're proud of their team. They believe in their Cornhuskers. And I don't blame them. Like, if you love your football team, good on you. But this is the reality. The reality is that college football largely supports the sponsors. Like Nike makes a huge pile of money off of the Oregon Ducks. Nike makes a lot of money because of their sponsorship of the Oregon Ducks. But you know who doesn't make money? College students. They get saddled with debt. They get, a lot of college students are forced into bankruptcy, and you can't get out from under your college loans with bankruptcy, but they don't have any financial means to get out from underneath their debt. So, these college students who put their lives, their bodies on the line for football, then a lot of times suffer injuries, catastrophic injuries that they can't recover from. Like, they can't, once you tear your ACL, once you blow out your knee, once you tear your hamstring, like, you can have some really good reconstructive surgery, but the chances are that your career is over. And doing that while you're still a 20-something-year-old or even still a teenager, it's a travesty. These people, they're young people, they're doing what they think is best with their lives, but ultimately what's going on is that these football games, these college standoffs, are taking people's attention away from what's actually happening inside of this country. So while people are watching, the Oregon Ducks play against the Nebraska Cornhuskers, people of color are being shot by police. Banksters are foreclosing on homes. People are being poisoned in Flint, in Milwaukee, in Gary, in Baltimore. Even in Eugene, we're being poisoned by our water. And meanwhile, nobody's paying attention to it. Right now there are literally thousands of people in this city getting ready to go and enjoy their day watching football. Meanwhile, their water is poison. I mean, the water in Eugene is not as poisonous as the water in Flint, but the water here is poisonous. And, you know, these people don't know that. If they knew they were getting poisoned, they probably would be more concerned. Actually, they might not. They might know they're being poisoned and not give a shit and just want to go watch football. But, you know, people should be more concerned about the environment they exist in and less concerned about sports. And basically, you know, the manipulation of society is pulled off through these public spectacles. And people get drawn into these public spectacles, and while their attention is focused on things that really aren't that consequential to their reality, things that are dramatically impactful to them are going on without their consent. You know, gerrymandering, you know, which disempowers voters, or for instance, slave labor, you know, because these t-shirts, you know, these jerseys and, you know, whatever gigantic foam hands and all of the, you know, all of the paraphernalia associated with these football games, whether it's the plastic cups, whether it's the pads and helmets, you know, whether it's the shoes, the socks, even the footballs themselves are made by people in, you know, not 100%, but a lot of them are made by people in slavery. And even here in the US, we have people doing slave labor, and, you know, the people who are all distracted by these big spectacles, they don't pay attention to it. It doesn't even cross their mind that, you know, maybe their hat or shoes or jersey was made by an enslaved person in a third world country. But that's what we promote through this, you know, public spectacle. And it just, to me, it's an example of a really sick society. Our society is so sick that we distance ourselves from the realities that are devastating. They're devastating the world. They're devastating to people who exist in the world, and they're devastating to human conscience, because that's the real bottom line for me, is human conscience, that part of ourselves that determines what's good and right from what is bad and wrong. That part of ourselves is desensitized by all this spectacle, because we're told that it's more important whether the Huskers win or whether the Oregon Ducks win, and that should be of more consequence to us than the fact that it's enslaving children to make shoes, enslaving children to make jerseys, and enslaving, you know, people in third world countries to cover all of the fossil fuels that are going to be required to ship all of those footballs, all those jerseys, all those helmets, you know, all the hot dogs and soda pops and other paraphernalia of these, you know, public spectacles. And I used to be a part of that. You know, I used to travel around this country and work at Renaissance festivals. And essentially what the Renaissance Festival is, it's an opportunity for people who are overwhelmed with normalcy, overwhelmed with all of society and all of the input and stimulus, and they just want to step away from it. You know, they don't want to engage in what's actually happening in the world, so they go back to the 15th century and pretend to be jolly old English people. And that's what I did for a living, is I traveled around the country and helped people to distance themselves from the painful realities of today's modern world. And, you know, I was okay with it. I felt good about helping people, because let's face it, you know, reality is challenging. But in the time since I stopped working at Renaissance fairs and became more engaged as an activist, then I realized, like, these college football games, college basketball, you know, college baseball, all of this sports propaganda, it exploits people. It exploits the youth who are being used as athletes. It exploits all the laborers who are producing all the paraphernalia. And honestly, it's horrible for the world. It's horrible for the world. You know, all of that consumption for what? A three-hour tournament? Like a 3-hour game where people are, let's face it, in football, you're causing permanent brain damage to each other. But again, that gets covered over by the media. Like, there's a high likelihood that the children who are playing in the sports game today will walk away from this game with lifetime brain injuries. And all these people are out here cheering it on. You know, I don't know how to put this in perspective for people, but I just want you guys to understand, like, there are really important things happening today in the world. There are really devastating, life-changing events happening today in this world, and you know, people are going to be too concerned about tuning into a football game to even care about what's going on. You know, there's literally millions of people in Florida who are facing life and death consequences of their actions today. And you know, if we took any amount of money off of the college football scheme and put that towards rescuing people from Florida or rescuing people from Texas, just imagine that, you know. But plain fact, you know, plain simple fact is, people are more concerned with their college football team than they are with their fellow human beings. They are more concerned with who wins a football game than they are concerned with the people who face drowning to death in Florida. That's the value system that these type of sports events promote. They promote a very egocentric, self-centered, you know, ignorance. They promote ignorance. And, you know, I'm sorry if that offends some of you, but by choosing to look at all of these football games, you're choosing not to look at things that are actually of consequence in the world. You're purposefully choosing to tune out what actually matters in the world so you can watch people injure each other. That's the type of values that sporting events, in my estimation, are promoting. And it's sickening. It makes me sick. It's part of what's wrong with this country, or with any country that invests millions and millions of dollars each week promoting these types of distractions, you know, because we need to transition to green energy. We need to transition away from toxic agriculture. We need to transition to actual human community. And instead what we're doing is we're promoting these types of distractions. So, you know, I try not to let these go on for too long, and I'm going to get offline here. But I just wanted you guys to think about what you actually promote when you watch college football. Are you promoting the students? Are you promoting their education? Or are you promoting a situation where these people potentially risk their entire future, their entire mental health and physical health and monetary well-being for sport? Because to me, that's what's going on. And with all that said, I'm going to let you guys go. Thanks for taking the time to tune in, and I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day out there. I'll talk to you really soon.